Heyo adventurers, this is Elven Tower Adventures, my name is Derek. Today we are going to make an old school style dungeon map. The name of this piece is Shrine of Heroes. This is not a large dungeon map, it's got about 8 or 9 important areas, but the way they are set up on the map and how they are interconnected with secret passages allows for non-linear exploration of the place. For this sketch and later for the final map, I am using mid-weight graph paper printed at home, fine liners, and some sharpie markers and highlighters. I am making this quick sketch first, because I only get one shot. If I make a mistake with these kinds of pens on paper, then I am cooked. So everything has to be right on the first shot. This is how the finished sketch looks. Now it's time to work on the real illustration. To begin, I use a Sharpie marker to delineate the walls. You'll probably notice that it takes me a moment before I commit to a line. That's because I have the sketch I made previously slightly off screen, so I am counting the squares I have to draw before I do them with the Sharpie marker. If I made a mistake here, I would have to start all over. One could perhaps do the sketch with pencils. On the same graph paper sheet you will later use with the Sharpie marker. However, I don't particularly like that, because then at some point you have to get an eraser, and sometimes you can damage the paper when you try to erase the faint pencil lines. When designing a map for TTRPG games, we have to at some point confront the fact that we have to fit it in one page. Even if you're working with a larger scale and you're going to spread this map across multiple pages, in the end you have to work with a rectangular area. I have found that I sometimes feel a compulsion to fill all the available space on the page. There is nothing wrong with that, but when you do it, you end up with a page that's filled with the dungeon, and this dungeon is rectangular or square in shape. It's boxy, and some people think it's not natural because of that. However, it is also perfectly fine to leave some blank space on the page. You can later fill it with a map title, some map labels, or sometimes a map legend. For this map in particular, I compromised for around 30% of blank space. I will probably use this piece later for a one-page dungeon, so that space is useful for labels when I use it then. This is one of the secret passages on the south side of the dungeon. You can see that these passages are narrower than the dungeon hallways. They are around 2 feet wide, enough for a normal-sized creature to pass, but problematic if there were to be a fight in those tunnels. The walls are ready. Now it's time to work on other main structure parts of the dungeon, that is, the pillars, doors, and secret entrances. The Shrine of Heroes is an ancient mausoleum. Millennia ago, the world was under the evil reign of a demon king. Countless warriors and spellcasters gave their lives to defeat this evil entity. The most famous or notorious of them were interred here, in the Shrine of Heroes. It is a place shrouded by legends. Some of the most popular of them claim that there are great treasures here. Most adventurers and scholars respect the legacy of the heroes that are interred in this dungeon, but a few lowlives do not. Through the ages, many have tried to explore this place with the intent of robbing its riches, but none have managed to do it and return to tell the tale. The few who dared disrespect the dead just never returned. People claim that the heroes of yore returned from the afterlife to defend their resting place. Alas, it cannot be known. A new group of heroes soon shall come. Are they here because of selfish greed? Or perhaps they are here because of a more noble cause. Maybe they need the sword or the spellbook of one of those heroes to save the world again in the present. In the first chamber of this dungeon, there is a large ornate coffer. Engravings on the lid claim that visitors must leave something of sentimental value inside. Incorporeal shadows emerge from the coffer if they refuse. The north tomb contains a large sarcophagus, a statue, a magical brazier, and the bookcase filled with rotten tomes and scrolls. Mage users detect a faint abjuration aura in this room. There was once a magic trap here, but the magic has long faded. It doesn't work anymore. The northeast chamber of the dungeon contains an eldritch astrolabe. It can be used to predict the position of some planes of existence, but its main purpose was for divination. The heroes of the past believed that the Demon King would one day return. Divination spells are enhanced when a spellcaster uses the astrolabe as their focus. The South Tomb is similar in contents to its counterpart, but the protective ward in this area still works. If a creature dares open the ornate sarcophagi, a high-level fireball spell is triggered, centered on the sarcophagus lid. After the flames subside, 3 invisible stalkers are summoned into the room. They mercilessly attack whoever survived the arcane explosion. The north and south tombs connect in the middle to a hub-like space. This is the shrine's central chamber. 4 statues of the most famous of heroes surround a rune-inscribed stone circle. Spellcasters of high enough level can copy the sigil sequence on the circle and later use it to teleport into this chamber. An insightful mage can also discern that the magic circle has never been used in this way since it was constructed. The middle north section of the dungeon features a crypt. The ashen remains of countless heroes are stored here. For most of them, their names are lost to history. No one remembers who they were. The southwest corner of the dungeon contains a form of library. It contains a well-cared archive of the heroes' deeds. There are 2 silent servants in this room. Visitors only need to say what they want, and the servants will retrieve the appropriate tome or scroll. The main chamber is the Shrine of Heroes, the one that gives the dungeon its name. At the far end, there is a 10-foot-tall dais. Over it rests a limestone statue of the great hero. Legend has it that he struck the final blow that killed the Demon King and stopped his reign. He was a valiant paladin who attained sainthood when he died a few decades after. He wielded a magical blade known as Stormbringer. This blade is stored with the hero's bodily remains, right under the limestone effigy. If the characters are after this fabled weapon, they will have to confront the spirits that inhabit the Shrine of Heroes. Other than the great hero's tomb, there are 6 ornate sarcophagi in the chamber. The old folk songs claim that there were 7 warriors who defeated the Demon King. It was the great hero, 3 other martial warriors, 2 spellcasters, and a priest. If the characters seek their blessing or their weapons to save the world in the present, they must convince the spirits of the heroes of yore that their cause is just. If they cannot be convinced, but the characters have been respectful of the Shrine of Heroes, they may be allowed to leave without conflict. But if the characters have disrespected the dead or have already pillaged some of the other areas in the dungeon, then a fight is inevitable. If the adventuring characters do partake in this battle, they must overcome a fierce challenge. For the 7 wraiths in the Shrine of Heroes fight to the death. Back to the illustration. Since all this place is a single structure, the floor tile pattern is mostly the same throughout the whole compound. It's in moments like this where I am truly grateful that I am working with graph paper. Part of the meta expectations of GMs and players is the fact that they expect dungeons or battle maps to be set on a grid. So when you have a lousy or badly aligned grid, the whole illustration suffers. So for an illustration like this, all you have to do is follow the graph paper lines and commit to whatever floor pattern you have chosen. By this point, the flooring is mostly done. However, when I looked at it, I kinda felt like it was still missing something. It felt a little empty. So I took my smallest fine liner and used a stippling technique to add a little rubble all over the dungeon. This is no exact science, I'm just going with the flow. I just add it where it makes sense, where it looks like it's a little too empty. I'm over the most difficult parts of this illustration, now it's time to relax. By this point, it is a staple of old school style maps to add a cross-hatching pattern outside of the dungeon walls. There are many ways to do this, most of them are fine, but I have found that the best way to get this right is to use a pattern that is at the same time repetitive but shifting. You could also use a stippling technique like the one I used for the rubble on the dungeon floor. Or you could take the easy way out, just like I did with this illustration, and used the cross-hatching method popularized by Dyson Logos almost a decade ago. It's easy to do, it's versatile, and it looks great. I also find that after doing the critical parts of the dungeon, where one mistake could ruin the whole illustration, this is the part where you can finally ease off and relax. This is a sped up time lapse, but this hatching section took me almost an hour to complete. I was actually working pretty slow here. Alas, after an hour I was a little bored, and with my thrill for excitement now renewed, I took the crazy decision of using a Sharpie highlighter to add a blue glow or highlight to the upper left side of all the walls inside the dungeon. This is risky in two ways. On the one hand, if I make a mistake, I end up with a blue highlight in an unwanted place. But on the other hand, I found that using the highlighter in this way washes off a little of the fineliners ink. I soon saw that it made some of the fineliners lines a little muddy, so I had to find a balance of using enough highlighter for it to show, but not so much that it would wash off the lines and make a mess of an illustration that was almost finished. But as you can see here, the D&D gods blessed my work, and in the end it all turned out for the best. This is the finished, hand-drawn map of the Shrine of Heroes. This is the second such illustration in this ongoing series of hand-drawn maps. If you didn't get to see the first one, click the following link. Also, as an extra goodie, this is the final digitally cleaned up version of the Shrine of Heroes. This is the version that I mentioned earlier that I will probably use as a one-page dungeon. This map, the upcoming one-page dungeon, and tons of other goodies that we create month after month are available on our Patreon page. If you like our content, we would really appreciate if you like this video, leave a comment, and take a moment to consider whether we have earned your subscription here on YouTube and perhaps your patronage on Patreon. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Derek, and this is Elven Tower Adventures.